Texas versus Ohio State is college football's biggest week 1 matchup this year. Texas is getting called pussies for declining Ohio State's offer to move this game from its noon Saturday kickoff time to Sunday prime time. And I don't get how you can get mad at Texas for not taking Ohio State up on that offer. It already is hard enough as it is to beat anybody on the road in college football. It's even more tougher to beat Ohio State when they're playing in Columbus. It wouldn't do anything but put Texas at an even bigger disadvantage by moving this game from noon to primetime Sunday night, giving Ohio State a nighttime atmosphere. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for Texas to go through with that. So I don't get why they're getting the backlash that they currently are receiving for making that decision when they're just trying to give themselves a fair shot to win in one of college football's toughest places to get a win at. And this is a rematch of 1 out of 2 of the CFP semifinals from this past season. And this was a game that was neck and neck up until the final 6 minutes when you had some bad and questionable red zone play calling from Steve Sarkisian. Then you had a Jack Sawyer scoop and score, which ultimately broke this game wide open. Texas is the consensus favorite to win it all this year. And if they win this game, you feel really confident about their chances of pulling that off. Meanwhile, you have an Ohio State team that's eyeing the illustrious back-to-back, something that only 2 programs have done and over the last 15 years, that being Alabama with Nick Saban and recently Georgia when they went back-to-back in 2021 and 2022. Ohio State has the talent to do that. They don't rebuild, they reload. When you are an elite program like Ohio State and even Texas, it doesn't matter how many good players you lose to the NFL. You are a football factory. You lose good guys to the NFL and you bring in more NFL caliber players, whether that be via recruiting or through the transfer portal. You don't worry about what Ohio State loses, especially when you return 2 of the best players in college football, that being Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Now, I am interested mainly in this game because of Arch Manning. He has been getting a lot of hype. He's a Heisman frontrunner. Of course, we know about the heritage of the Manning last name from Archie, Eli, and Peyton. The bloodlines run deep with Arch Manning. And if he ends up balling out in this game against Ohio State, he's going to be the Heisman frontrunner for the entirety of the season. This is going to be the game that sets the tone for him. Now, if he struggles, then you're going to start hearing a lot of chatter around Arch Manning. Is he overrated? Was he overhyped? Remember, when Texas went into the playoffs last year after that SEC title loss to Georgia, there was a lot of chatter around Quinn Ewers getting benched in favor of Arch Manning. And there's a good majority of folks out there that would tell you that if Arch Manning started during that playoff run over Quinn Ewers, Texas' destiny would have been a lot different. Now, we don't know the truth to that because we can't live off hypotheticals. But, if Arch Manning ends up balling out in this game against a really good Ohio State defense on paper, maybe that further adds some more fuel to that hypothetical what if. Now, Julian Sayin, he is going to be debuting for the first time ever as Ohio State starting quarterback. You got Arch Manning making his official debut, although he appeared in a few games last year when Quinn Ewers got injured. This is his first big-time game ever. And same thing can be said for Julian Sayin. Now, Julian Sayin is pretty much fresh blood out there. He hasn't started any game up to this point. He was a former 5-star coming out of high school. He initially committed to play for Nick Saban in Alabama. When he retired, he transferred to Ohio State. He sat behind Will Howard for all of last season. Now it's his turn to take over the reins. And I believe that Julian Sayin is really good. He has the same chances of winning the Heisman as what Arch Manning does. But with Arch Manning, this game shows us a lot about what we're going to learn moving forward about how good Julian Sayin is going to be. Ohio State is accustomed to getting good quarterback play in these big-time games. There haven't really been too many games where the quarterback play was the reason why Ohio State lost. And if Julian Sayin struggles in this game against what should be a really good Texas defense, maybe you start having some chatter about maybe a quarterback change taking place, or maybe you start second guessing your decision to start Julian Sayin over the other guy if you're Ryan Day. Steve Sarkisian versus Matt Patricia. Steve Sarkisian, in my opinion, is the best play caller in college football at the moment. And Matt Patricia is going to be coaching in his first ever game as Ohio State's new defensive coordinator, replacing Jim Knowles. Now, Matt Patricia, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the NFL, he was Bill Belichick's right-hand man during the prime years of the New England Patriots dynasty. He was the architect behind some of those all-time great defenses that the Patriots had. And the issue with Matt Patricia is that sometimes those defenses didn't always play up to an elite level. And at Ohio State, even though you got a lot of talent, are you going to be able to have the amount of success that Jim Knowles has had with this program the last couple of years? When you're going up against a premier play caller, what should be one of the best, if not the best quarterback in college football, this is going to be a challenging debut for Matt Patricia. But if he ends up doing a really phenomenal job with this defense and they hold Texas to under 20 points, you feel really good about the transition from Jim Knowles to him. And I think Matt Patricia should fare really well as Ohio State's defensive coordinator. When you have the amount of talent that Ohio State has on the D-line and in the secondary, especially when you have a guy like Caleb Downs, you got to be a novice as a defensive play caller to not at least have a top 20 defense this year. But this is going to be a really great game that I'm looking forward to. And I feel if I had to make a prediction right now, I would take Texas to win this game. Steve Sarkisian is really good when it comes to having his team prepared to win tough games on the road. Even some of the closer games that they had on the road last year, they were finally able to squeak out wins in. Ohio State, I still don't think that a loss in this game is fully going to determine how good they will be. I don't think it'll hurt their playoff chances. Ryan Day has never had more than 2 losses during the regular season. If anything, it further adds fuel to the fire for Ohio State this year. And I think that there's nothing wrong with having the early loss to start the season. It gives you some film to actually look back upon, to actually make some improvements, figure out what you need to make adjustments at, versus just opening the season playing a random FCS team like a Bishop Sycamore or Streamers University. So this should be a really fun game. I'll take Texas to win. 2017 is going to be my final score prediction.